I actually interestingly pivoted to sales from marketing when I had my first child.
I've heard stories of the other way
Other way
around.
around, right? I joined a startup. Oh my god. My career, my personal learnings, professional growth, both in the way I look at things, I lead teams, I manage business, everything changed like anything. It just, my learning curve probably just pivoted upwards. I learned, and I say this to a lot of my team members, that there is, in your career, unless you, most often than not, there is no pure right and pure wrong decision, right? It's what you make out of it after that. One realization I've had is, especially for women, I think we are harder on ourselves, right? I have so many young women.
The bar is right there.
Right there, right? And we like to plan.
Yeah.
And sometimes we overthink it.
Yes.
But I want to tell you one thing, Anjali. I couldn't sleep. I think I lost my sleep in the last 1 month before I joined, and it was a virtual interview, virtual joining. मुझे ऐसे लगा, what if I reach the office and they say, who are you? We never took you. I've never done virtual interviews and all of that. I'd never been to the office I was joining. I must say this, by the way, Kavita, that, and Anjali, I'm sure you relate to this too. I joke sometimes, but trust me, it's not a joke when I say this. It's relatively easier
To be at work.
to be at work, to manage 20,000 people than to manage my
But
two
two
boys.
people at home.
Oh my god. And especially in today's time, this new generation, I just want to say it's not easy.
Welcome to another episode of People Connects Women at Work, bringing stories of successful corporate women leaders to you. Brought to you in partnership with our luxury partner, Mercedes-Benz Landmark Cars, and our styling partner, Vera Moda.
We are talking of someone who shows up every day, drives herself and her team to be the best versions of themselves. Meet Pallavi Agarwal, CEO of Airtel's D2C business.
Hi Pallavi, welcome to our show.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
Same.
Hi,
Hi, Anjali.
so nice to meet you, Pallavi. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you. I'm looking forward.
All excited?
All excited. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Awesome. Welcome to the main segment of our podcast, Pallavi.
Thanks, Kavita. Looking forward.
Thank you. So let's start with something that I know about you, which is that you're extremely outgoing, very friendly. You're a people's person. How does all that tie in with what you do? Where did it all begin?
So, honestly, my professional journey, I started in early 2000s, and it was I liked the side of sales and marketing. And early days, I started from the marketing brands side, and when you're on the brand side and you're leading marketing, it's all about understanding your consumers,
Yeah.
right? That's where I started. From initial 7 years, I was doing different roles that side, and eventually I pivoted to sales. This was in 2010. So last 15 years, I've been doing various roles in sales. I've done B2B sales, B2C sales. I have done retail channel sales. I have done modern trade-led sales, and now I'm into direct-to-consumer sales. So various types of sale functions I've been a part of. So it's all about people, right?
Yes.
In what you do. So I think that's one thing which is held on to this side, the sales and operations side. Of course, now I lead large teams. Now I lead a business. But what I love the most about it is people. I get my entire energy from my teams when I meet them, when I travel, when I'm in the market.
And it's not a
With
small
them.
team, huh? It's a very big team.
Yeah, we're gonna come to that.
Yes. So
Yeah.
yes, I just absolutely.
So that
love
means
side.
you had like a lot of friends when you were growing up, and is that stuff like that?
So no, my growing up years are very different actually, in the sense that my dad has retired from Indian Railways. We shifted cities, and eventually I shifted schools a lot when I was growing up. So my middle years were not that easy. Till 5th, I was in a certain school. 6th, I was in a different school. 7th, I was in a different school, and 8th, I was in a
Oh my
different
goodness.
school. So, and nobody wants to be your friend.
Yeah,
When
the pressure of quickly
Yeah.
finding new friends
Correct.
and
Yeah.
then,
Correct.
saying that, okay, limited time and then,
Yes.
okay, I'm going again.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So it's tough to settle, but I think that kind of also probably brought me where I am today,
Mhm.
right? That's why I'm very comfortable with different sets of people, diverse teams. I'm also, for me, handling ambiguity, changing goalposts, all of that comes a little naturally to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I do not. I have few foreign few friends when I was growing up, but yeah,
It's worked out in a different way.
it's worked out well for me.
Okay, so Pallavi, your profile is very interesting. You spent time at a large FMCG, and then you spent time at a large beverages company,
Yeah.
and then you made this shift to a startup. So how was that journey? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So if I can call it so, Kavita, probably it was my kind of midlife crisis, if I can say so. I turned 40.
I
suddenly
think some
felt-
switch flips at 40, right?
Something happens.
Something happens, yeah.
Something happens,
Yeah.
and you feel, wow, you
What
kind
am
of
I doing with
revisit-
my life?
Correct. You
Yeah.
revisit all your decisions, and probably I did that. And I think somewhere I felt, and of course, it was just after COVID, the year after COVID, market was changing, the dynamics were changing,
Yeah.
consumer behavior was changing, and I felt, and because I was throughout FMCG side, I felt that if I don't pivot now, I might stagnate in my learning. More very personal to me than what I was doing in my work. I think I was doing fine. I was valued. Everything was going fine for me, except in my mind, somewhere I felt that if I don't step out of my comfort zone now, then when will I do it? And so yes, I did leave a beverage organization I was a part of for almost a decade. I joined a startup. Oh my God, my career, my personal learnings, professional growth, both in the way I look at things. I lead teams, I manage business. Everything changed like anything. My learning curve probably just pivoted upwards.
Wow.
Is what I would say. So a tough decision for me, I would say, when I was taking it. But again, probably in hindsight, it's one of the best decisions I took. And I'm glad I did that in that stage.
You mentioned tough decision, and I was actually going to ask you something about it.
Yeah.
Was it easy convincing people around you to because that's not always easy to convince people that you want to do something completely different and not steady and so on. How was that?
So, two things, I think 2 or 3 things which played out in that time. One is the organization I was working for really valued me, and they wanted me to stay, and it was tough to leave an organization you commit to and work for such a long time. I was there for 9 years. Also, at a personal front, so I'm a mother of 2 kids, so they're still early years, mid years, growing up.
Yeah.
So it was also a tough decision for me at a personal level, because I knew a startup culture does mean kind of
You're
a roller
upsetting the
coaster.
whole cart,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's a roller coaster ride, right? You kind of commit yourself 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was also, in that sense, I was in a stage in my personal life where it was not that obvious or simple for me to take a decision. The next was, of course, when I discussed this with my parents. My dad was like, "Why would you do that?" Because I come from a very I would say, risk averse.
Yeah.
Growing up years, and he just felt that why, everything is fine. Why would you? And especially when you have kids growing up, your career is doing well. Why would you want this change? I think last but most importantly, my husband. He was my biggest support. I went to him. I said, "What if I join and I take this risk, and after 6 months things don't work out and I'm out of job?" And he said, "Don't even worry. We'll figure it all out." So I think it was a mixed bag, but finally I realized that I think decisions like this have to be your own decisions.
Yeah.
See, nobody can take it on your behalf.
Yeah.
You don't jump the ship because somebody tells you don't worry. You do it when you feel it's right.
Yeah.
So I think in my gut, I felt I was probably taking the right decision. I went with it.
And
not
was it
easy.
right? Was it right?
In hindsight, yes, it was one of the toughest but best decisions I took of my career. But I want to tell you one thing, Anjali, I couldn't sleep. I think I lost my sleep in the last 1 month before I joined, and it was a virtual interview, virtual joining. मुझे ऐसे लगा, you know, what if I reached the office and they say, who are you? We never took you. I've never done virtual interviews and all of that. I'd never been to the office I was joining. You know, and this
No
fear.
face, no look,
Correct.
no nothing.
So, I mean, it was tough at a personal level. Like, I'm not joking. I didn't sleep the last couple of weeks of the date of joining. I think I lost my sleep. I was like, am I doing the right thing? You know, there's a constant thing which is going in your mind. Have you done the right thing? Have you taken the right decision?
Yeah.
What if? The other thing I learned, and I say this to a lot of my team members, that there is, you know, in your career, unless you, I mean, most often than not, there is no pure right and pure wrong
Yep.
decision, right?
Yep.
It's what you make out of it
Yep.
after that.
Yep.
So I did take the decision eventually, and if I had to do it all over again, I would do the same
Wow.
thing. Is what I would say.
But what made it so worthwhile? What was so different about that?
I think multiple things, Kavita.
Mm-hmm.
So I was obviously so far with organizations which were very well established. And what you do in organizations like this is the toolkit is there, you know what to do, and you obviously keep excelling in that and keep pivoting here and there, but more so of what you've been doing. But obviously, you then bring gold standard,
Yeah.
excel in what you do. But still, you're bound in a way, if I can take this liberty of saying, you're still bound by your annual plan,
Yeah.
right? What
Yeah.
you've written for the year,
Yeah.
where you want to be. I think startup first realization I had was you're actually building something. You know, and all of us are, whoever is a part of a startup company, you all are contributing to building that organization and probably also writing the fate of the economy of the country.
You're right.
So it is so powerful and it is so empowering to be in a space like that. That's one. Second, for me, I think I was absolutely blown by the talent, by the quality of talent, and more so because, you know, many of the team members who were working with me or working around me, they themselves were early entrepreneurs who had to shut shop during COVID. It was tough, right?
Yeah.
COVID was
Yeah.
tough for everybody. And, you know, these young kids out of college, they would have started something, put their entire,
Yeah.
not only put money but or finances, but also taken loans.
Yeah.
And then everything shuts down, things change, economy changes. And then they join organizations, especially startups in that time, because they feel they'll also like fix their financial piece.
Yeah.
But you know, they are so clear that they are there in that organization to learn, to contribute, but more importantly, to go back to their dreams.
Wow.
And that, I
So
think,
it's a you know, like a quick course in
Correct.
doing whatever you
Correct.
have to, and then you know where you're going to go and
absolutely.
implement it.
So that clarity at that age and stage in life, you know, oh my God, I was absolutely blown. And that talent, you know, because they are so hungry to learn in that little bit of whatever career they are trying to make in the corporate world, they're so hungry. Whatever you tell them, whatever you discuss with them, whatever they will share back will be beyond, above and beyond what you would have probably defined as a scope of the project. They would create algorithms, you know, really interesting dashboards which are like updating itself. I mean, I
Wow.
just can't tell you if
Quick decision making.
absolutely amazing and very, very empowered to say this is how it should be, this is why are we doing questioning fundamentals. I think that for me was again a reality check. I think probably after a long time I was largely working with young talent. I mean, normally it's a mix, but this, because it was a startup, largely it was very young. I mean, your founders are your age or younger, right? So I think when I saw this kind of talent up close, I realized how times have changed, how
Yeah.
digitally savvy they are, how fearless they are, how limitless they are. They don't, you know,
Yeah.
hold themselves. And again, for me, and I come from a belief that you can learn at any time from anywhere, anyone. I learned a lot from them. I think that energy was amazing. So for me, I can keep talking about my startup learnings and ambiguity, changing goals, what you think of today, and you're leading teams, right? So I would go and tell my team, we will do this. And next morning we'll wake up and we would have changed the entire strategy, and we would say, no, we are not doing this. So how do you handle that and still stay authentic as a leader? Right? So all of that also was a big part. But what really blew me away was the talent and how they are there to build the organization and not just contribute a bit which is defined for them.
Amazing. So switching gears a bit, because you're talking about talent, you currently manage 20,000 people, and that's more than the population of some countries in the world. So, and you just slip it into conversation saying, I manage a team right now, and then one has to probe you to understand, okay, you manage 20,000 people. But tell us a bit more about it, because these challenges will be so very different. I mean, this is so much about dealing with field staff and, keeping them motivated in a much larger context and larger organization. Tell us more about that.
So yes, I would say it's very humbling when you lead large teams, because in a way you're touching so many lives, right? And they are there listening to you. The purpose which you define as an organization, as a leader, it is what holds them all together. So I think it's absolutely very, very humbling.
Those many pairs of eyes looking at you, right? You're one person looking at them, but there are so many people looking back at you.
Absolutely. And you have to inspire them. They do the same job every day, and they have to still do it with a smile. How you ensure that they are motivated, they are inspired, they have a sense of purpose, they are engaged, but they're also comfortable and respected in what they do. I think in that sense, I have no other word to say. It's very humbling. It's also very exciting. Like I personally get all my energy. Like I think I joke in my office saying that when I'm in my head office, in different meetings here and there, it's great, of course, but I think I get like a little discharge, like the phone, and then I have to travel to recharge myself, and then my battery is like full and overflowing, because when I'm in the market, when I'm with my teams, I get so much inspiration. I learn so much. I realize that whatever you have thought of sitting in your office, in the boardroom, etc., your planning, your strategy.
Here's where it's all happening.
Here is where it's all happening. This is the moment of truth. And this is where it really, really matters. And then you go back to realize why you have to simplify. Really keep it simple, straightforward. And more often than not, business is actually very simple. It's all of us who love to complicate, use jargons. So but when you meet your teams, you realize the power of simplification, the power of communication. Many times in your mind you're clear, but when you especially lead large teams, how do you ensure that the communication reaches
till the last mile,
and backwards also, so upwards also. How does their voice reach you? I think it's so important, right? It's so important to hear them while you reach out to them. So I think it kind of makes you, and that is what it does to me. Every time I travel, and I travel very extensively because I feel my job is there, where they are, my team is, right? So when I travel, when I meet them, I get energy, I also get ideas. I normally go with a couple of hypotheses, saying that this is what I want to test when I'm out there. I get clarity in my own thoughts, which actually just make my job worth it, right? I just feel every day is worth it when you can impact so many lives.
So Pallavi, you know some 10-15 languages, I think. Is that right?
So actually no, I don't know any other. So I have only 2 languages. In fact, on a side note, I must share this, that I was sharing this with my kids when they asked me, what's your first language? Not your mother tongue, right? They asked me, what's your first language?
In which you think, speak, whatever.
Correct. And it's very confusing because probably my parents were clearer, like our parents' generation. Their first language was whatever, like our mother tongue. Hindi, Marathi, whatever, right? In our kids' case, their first language is clear, it's English.
They think in English.
In our case, I realized when I was answering this that actually we are a confused generation. We are neither fully mother tongue nor are we fully English, right? We're somewhere हम थोड़ा सा हिंदी में सोचते हैं, whatever mother tongue में सोचते हैं, थोड़ा सा English में सोच लेते हैं. So I think it's just convenient, but yeah. But on the question you asked me, Kavita, I actually don't know any other language except English and my mother tongue. But the amazing part I have picked up in the last multiple years of being of leading teams, being with people, is that, and I kid you not, I probably understand 80-85% of all Indian languages now. When my team talks, and normally there are a lot of front end people, and they they feel like they feel so happy when you go and meet them, you spend the day with them or a few hours with them, and they want to share their stories, their joy stories, their success stories, something which worked for them, stood out for them, and when they want to speak, they express themselves best in their mother tongue, but they get very conscious. They feel that they should put up a front for me, they should talk to me in English and all that. So I tell them it's okay, you just express yourself, I'll understand. And you won't believe it, any language now, I understand what they are saying. I don't necessarily understand the words, but I understand
the thought,
and because there's so much emotions when they talk, that you get the gist of what they are saying. And of course, because there's some
context to it
also, so it's easier. But their eyes twinkle when you give them that comfort, that just express yourself. And I look in their eyes and I can see them just sharing what's in their mind, in their hearts, and I think it's just worth it. So yeah.
And that's the power of communication, right? Some of this can only happen, going back to what you said. I think you travel like pretty much every week or every other week. And if you don't do that, how do you look your end salespeople in their eyes and hear what they are saying and bring it back to
the
strategize?
Ground is so critical, right?
Absolutely.
If your ears not at the ground, you're only making, like you said, strategies, etc. in the corporate offices, but that's where the truth is.
Absolutely.
But tell us a bit about your sales journey as a woman, and what would you like to share with other women who might be on this path or who don't know what to do? Because this is not, this is not even sales in the realm of B2B sales where you do relationship selling. This is actually going market by market, meeting distributors, meeting retailers, getting the pulse of the market, and then you go back and design products. And I think you also used to do that in much of your earlier stints as well, right? So this is very different kind of sales. So what is it that works, that women can have in mind as they think about a career like this?
So honestly, I'll give a little background to this, because interestingly for me, I think when I did my MBA and I got into the sales and distribution, sales and marketing side, I really want to get into the sales side. I thought initial years I will dirty my hands, learn sales, the tricks of the trade, FMCG sales, etc. And then I'll pivot to the maybe the marketing side, and all of that is what I thought. As luck would have it, I started my career at the marketing side.
Okay.
And I did different brands. I actually did a lot of new product launches for different organizations. I was doing brands, making ads, all of the works for the first 7 years of my career. I actually interestingly pivoted to sales from marketing when I had my first child.
Oh wow!
So, and
we've heard stories of the other way
around, right? And a lot of women also leave work in different life stages or want an office job because of the obvious reasons. In my case, I don't know how it all happened. I think I really valued the organization I was working for, and they valued me. And I discussed this with them, saying that I'm not able to make it in the city we are in. We're really struggling because obviously work, kid, and the creche, home. I just seem to be like going in circles, right? So I was
hamster wheel all the time.
Absolutely. So I think we took a call that we'll shift back to Delhi because that's where my husband's family is. And I didn't want to leave my organization, and the only option I had was to come to the regional office, which was a sales stint. And I was so comfortable with the organization, and like I said, they valued me. I felt it's fine, I'll take this chance. I anyways wanted to get to the sales side. That was my first foray into sales, and this happened 15 years back. And I thought I'll do it for a couple of years, and I'll go back or whatever to marketing and brands. Oh my god, I fell in love with numbers, people, targets, daily numbers, month ends. I just loved what I was doing, and I think I kind of stayed here. So, and of course, it's not easy, right? I was in FMCG, in sales. Like you said, it's not the back end sales; it's actually front ending, being in the market, being with the distributors, etc. It's not easy. Safety, hygiene, washrooms. I mean, I can talk so much about it, right? But the other side is it's absolutely amazing. It's very fulfilling if this is what you like. So I think the only advice, if I may, I would give is, if you feel it interests you, I would say this to all the women, just raise your hand. Just give it a try. See, you're not bound. Like I mentioned earlier, your career decisions never are, cast in stone that, oh, this is the only decision I will take.
See, today, Pallavi, you are saying this so many years later, but when it's happening to us, at that stage, you know, you are feeling as if the world is coming in on you.
Yes.
Right? At that point, you can't decide that should I not. And like you said, right, when you were doing, when you evaluating even the startup, that is it right? Am I making the right decision?
Yes.
Will it do right by the family?
Yeah.
Or, if it's something that I'm deciding on my own, how does it impact others?
Yeah.
So those are, I think, the top of the mind questions that people go through mid-careers. But
that is true. But Anjali, one more realization I've had, and of course this has been more personal, and when I interact with a lot of people, one realization I've had is, especially for women, I think we are harder on ourselves. Right? I have so many young women.
The bar is right there.
Right? And we like to plan. And sometimes we overthink it.
Yes.
Right? And I'll give you one example of this. Like, a lot of women who come and ask me, what if we take this role? And what if, if they are newly married, what if we go family way? And I tell them, there is no perfect timing between your career and your family decisions. Just go. Just be honest first, of course, to your organization and to yourself. But then go with the flow. Like, things will fall in place. I think we sometimes want to overplan it, right? And overthink it. But I also want to say in the same breath that it is not just, and I don't want to frivolize it by saying it's women who are holding themselves back. In my own career, I've had situations where decisions have been taken on my behalf, where somebody has decided for me that she cannot do this role because she's a young mother, she's a woman, right? So it's, I think it's a combination. And I think this is where leaders like us also come into play. Are we doing the right thing for the teams? Are we being inclusive? Are we giving the right opportunities? Are we mentoring people who are doubting themselves or genuinely have questions?
Are you leading by example or not?
Right? And are you leading by example? So I think it's a journey. There is no, I don't want to say it's the women who don't take these calls, all the men.
Both ends.
It's actually, and I have had mentors after mentors who have been so amazing, who have guided me, both men and women. More men actually than women, right?
Of course, because
the
more of the senior
such,
people are all men.
The domain is such, right?
The domain is such. So they've really mentored, they've taken, they've ensured that these kind of self-doubts kind of go at the back, and you take those decisions. So I think no perfect answer except saying that if you really feel excited about it and want to take a chance, you must try it out. I think times have changed a lot.
I'm going to switch gears completely because we've talked a lot of work. Your LinkedIn profile, when I see it, the first thing that pops out at me is mom of two, right? That's what you write there. So tell us a bit more about, because this is not easy. I think we touched upon it a little before. 2 kids, traveling career, dual careers. Correct. Your spouse has a hectic job as well. So how does all this pan out? How do you make sense of things and prioritize stuff?
So yes, it's not easy. I just want to say that I think somewhere it just boils down to choices, right? It's your own mind, how you play this entire thing out. So for me, I think when we were deciding to have a second child, even that was a decision. We were really wondering, should we do this all over again, especially between
You
careers.
just started getting your bearings right.
Correct.
You're thinking of the
Correct.
second one.
Absolutely. So I think, but yeah, I take pride in the fact that while I have a job which I love to do, but I also am a mother of two growing up kids. And I must say this, by the way, Kavita, that and Anjali, I'm sure you'll relate to this too. I joke sometimes, but I trust me, it's not a joke when I say this. That it's relatively easier
To be at work.
to be at work to manage 20,000 people
Yes.
than to manage my
For
two
two
boys.
people at home.
Oh my god! I mean, and especially in today's time, this new generation,
Yeah.
I just want to say it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I take pride in this. It's very fulfilling for me. I also feel I'm blessed. When you are kind of, your plate is overflowing, you know, it's a stage in your life.
Yeah.
There will be times when my kids will move out, go to college, etc. They
Then
will
what
need us
about you,
less.
right?
Right? What about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
In your own life's chart,
Absolutely.
you know,
Correct.
where are you then at that
Correct,
point?
Correct. So yeah, it's a privilege. It's a blessing. I take it like a blessing for myself, and I also feel I learn a lot from my kids, right? Which I bring back to work. I mean,
Yep.
it's both ways.
Yep.
I love this push and pull, constant push and pull, which keeps me on my toes.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the main segment. But while we close out the main segment, do you have any advice for our listeners, men, women, young, mid-career professionals, you know, across the board?
I think, and I would just share based on my personal journey. I think a couple of things. One, I would say, and this was actually a realization I had around COVID. In fact, second wave of COVID. So I got a bad COVID because I lead large teams, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
for me. I just couldn't justify sitting in the office or
Yep.
at home
Yep.
and telling my teams to be out there.
Correct.
So I was myself out there
Yeah.
in the market. I was in Banaras, and I got the second wave was just like picking up.
Yeah.
And I think I was one of the first few ones to get it, and I became a super spreader and blah blah, and crazy, very bad 21 days, etc. So my entire family was in and out of the hospital, that. So anyways, but the point I think I'm trying to come to is, I think my biggest realization at that time was taking care of yourself is actually probably even more important than everything else you do. And I think I again say this with a lot of humility, because when you're working and you have family, kids, or caretaking for somebody, depending on the situation, I think we can kind of put ourselves at the last.
Yeah.
Right? We
It's always okay, let me do this thing, then I'll do this.
know?
Let me finish this, then I'll think about this.
Correct.
But that it never
It
comes.
never comes,
Yeah.
and that's a reality. So for me, I think the first advice I want to just give is take care of yourself, find time for yourself. And when I say that both physical health and mental health, right? Today, more so than ever, I think investing in yourself. I think the younger generation is slightly more clear in their mind especially on the mental health aspect.
Yes. Yes.
I would say that especially for people in different stages, 30s, 40s, I think just invest in yourself, take care of yourself. That's the first advice I would say. And the second advice I would say is take a chance, like raise your hand, take something which excites you but you're scared of doing. It could be your own startup, it could be something with your own dream, it could be something which you want to try out. I think no better time than today.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
We started our careers without LinkedIn, without understanding the word networking.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And that brings us to the end of our main segment. But we're not going to let you go so easily. We want to put you in the driver's seat metaphorically. And when we are in Delhi, we'll have you in the driver's seat and take a ride in your
And drive in your Thar.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I would take you in my Thar.
Yes.
I love my car, but the back seat is not where you'd like to be, so I'll take you both for a round individually.
Awesome. So that brings us to the rapid fire round, Pallavi. So the first one there is, you're an economics graduate. What's your take on opportunity cost?
Every decision I take, morning to night, is based on opportunity cost. Is it worth working versus investing behind your kids? Is it worth watching Netflix or taking extra steps? Is it worth eating this specific dish
And
versus
then,
the calories?
and then
Right?
crying about it in the morning and say, why did I give
Why?
in?
Correct.
Yeah.
Every decision I take is around this. And on that note, I want to add one of my favorite theorems, if I could say, or laws I use for my kids is the law of diminishing returns, which is the more of something you get,
Yes.
the less exciting it becomes for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I use it for their video games and they don't trust me for this.
That's anyway a tough one.
इसमें diminishing returns ही नहीं आता अंजलि.
वो तो बहुत मुश्किल है. That's a tough one you're
Yes.
asking for.
Absolutely.
The scrolling,
Yeah.
the time on the, on digital devices.
Correct.
It's crazy,
It's
but
crazy.
it's a continuous fight.
Absolutely.
One mantra for a successful career.
I think getting into depth of whatever you're doing. I think in FMCG we use terms like dirty your hands, but it's nothing but getting into depth yourself. If you're leading a team who's front-ending, can you live their lives for the day? Can you do what they are doing in the way they are doing? Not in a fancy car, but actually being with them out there.
Yeah.
I think for everything, I would say any career, anything which you do, just get
Appreciate
into
the
depth.
last mile, see
Yeah,
what's happening
absolutely.
on the ground.
Absolutely.
One tough decision you've made in your career?
I think I talked about my startup
Yes.
career. I think that was a tough decision, but honestly, something which really touched me and which was very, very tough for me, and it was around that time where I had to let go of a team I had built, because when you are I think COVID did that, and also in startups this happens.
Yeah.
You keep building and you keep
Yeah.
dismantling because you're still fixing your formula. I think that for me personally took a toll
Yeah.
on me. I think it was very, very tough. It also, again,
There's so much dissonance when you're doing something
Right.
like this. Yeah.
it's also very humbling.
Yeah.
You appreciate so many things,
Yeah. That
which
take
matter,
for granted.
which you take for
otherwise.
granted. I think, it was personally very tough, but I also learned a lesson on this, for my life, saying that I think more so in India, post-COVID, we've always heard of this in US, etc., that you always, even yourself as a professional, need to probably have a plan B,
Yeah.
always ready,
Yep.
etc., because things are now not
Yeah.
the
Yes.
same. They're not
There's a lot of
cast.
dynamism.
So
and,
much is changing around us,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that was tough for me.
What's your biggest leadership strength and what's a work in progress?
Biggest strength, I think, is my ability to connect.
Yeah,
With
human
people.
connection. You spoke about
Right?
it earlier.
I absolutely, and for me, I think where it also comes down to is because sales also is a little stereotyped, right?
Yeah.
You must be aggressive. You must
Yeah.
shout.
Yeah.
You must make your voice heard. You have to pull up your team to get the numbers driven. I don't do any of these. I do it my way. So yeah, I think leading with a lot of empathy and care is what I
Yeah.
think. It's what's made me reach here so far. I'm sure it'll take care of me further. I think work in progress. One thing I constantly struggle with is to take credit.
Big one.
See,
Big
my
one,
God, it's
ah.
resonating.
Big one.
So,
Because
oh my
that's what we've
God.
been hearing a
Right?
lot, right?
Yeah.
That
And we also do that, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
is not a But say more about it.
No, so it's I am saying work in progress. I've not been able to do it for the last 20 years of my work now. So it's still in progress. It's so tough. It's so tough for
to
me.
put up your hand and say,
Yes.
I did this.
I feel it's not required. Like
My
Work
work
will
show.
speak for
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
So it's a constant piece, and of course eventually I reached a point when you represent a team, you want to do it for your
Yeah.
team more than for
Yeah.
yourself.
And
Yeah.
they push you to do it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't come naturally to me. So I think it's still work in progress.
Awesome. That brings us to the end of the rapid fire round and to the end of our, podcast with you. Thank you so much, Pallavi. That was a cracker of a session.
All right.
Yeah,
I
it's
really,
like
really
I
enjoyed
think
it.
the conversation there were so many catch points for us,
Yeah.
right? To say
it's
that
just- Yeah.
how you manage these teams, who are you as a person. Just so much inspiration all packed in one.
Yeah.
Thank you, and Anjali, you're amazing, yeah. You're like double
Going
hatting,
rounds
triple
and
hatting, doing this, doing that, everything. So you're
Yes.
amazing. But thank you, Kavita.
Thank
really,
you.
really enjoyed it.
Small gift for you from our styling partner Vera Moda.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed. Thanks.
Likewise.
And that's a wrap of another episode of People Connects Women at Work, brought to you by our luxury partner, Mercedes-Benz Landmark Cars, and our styling partner, Vera Moda.
If you liked our episode, do follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.